Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Devis Scottus. Today, Scott's going to teach me all about the greatest country to ever exist, Great Britain, and everything that attaches to it. Like, is Scotland part of Great Britain? I don't know. Maybe I'll learn through this little slideshow today. I'm so excited to have Professor Scott teach me all about the land of biscuits and trolleys and who's a what's its and whatnot. It's like a Dr. Seuss book, but real.
Have I told you about Watsons?
No, I
Have I?
don't. I thought I made that up.
I'll have to tell you about Watsons after. They're like some crisps. They do not make an appearance in this presentation, but some crisps do.
We're
So
missing
yeah,
all
this
the
is an
crucial
idea.
information.
I couldn't stop laughing at the beginning when you because Devin did like the weirdest countdown at the start that won't be in the video at all, but I
Well, it's for
laughed.
me so that I know where to cut off the editing to actually start things.
Well, we're going to talk about my culture today. We thought this would be a cool idea because Devon Scottish, this is an international brand. I mean, Devon covers the US side, but everyone knows about the US. But, not many people know. Well, actually, a lot of people do know about Britain, but there's some things that you might learn today. So, I made a little presentation. It's day 33. So, let's talk about the culture of Scott and his land. But also, we're just talking about Britain overall. So, from my expertise, that will end up being England and Scotland. So, sorry, Wales, I unfortunately do not know a lot about you.
Hey, Scott, I do
But
have a question real quick. Why did you.
already?
Yeah, in your opening slide, you had a picture of Stonehenge. Is Stonehenge in Britain?
Well, that's not Stonehenge. This is a different rock monument, I believe, in Scotland. Uh,
Where is
but
Stonehenge located?
Stonehenge is in Britain, I
It is in
believe.
Britain.
Yes, it's in England somewhere. I
Okay.
don't know exactly. I just know it's to the south
And is it
of England.
true it's actually a portal?
Well, I mean, it's all a bit
Sorry, but you're
wibbly-wobbly.
American. You're not privileged to know that information. That's what
I
I'm
mean,
getting here.
yeah. I mean, if you join me, like, because one day you'll eventually have to visit
I
the
will
UK.
have to
Definitely.
eventually visit.
Eventually, it
Because
probably
we'll
will
have
end
to
up
steal
being
the crown of England to find the Fountain of Youth, remember?
yeah. But I'm
Exactly one
afraid
year from that video.
I heard a prophecy once, Devon, that if I did do that, I'd be shot leaving a cinema watching Hoodwinked 2 again. And I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if
well,
I can
well,
have.
there's a price for everything, right? And there's always negotiations. We'll bring you back to the table a year from now, see how you feel about it.
Okay, okay. So the culture of Britain, from my view, being born in Scotland, have Scottish family, but I grew up in England, so I want to just walk through a lot of things. So here's our topics for today. We have what is the UK, a rich history, notable dates to know, food, British icons, cultural quirks that you might think are different and weird, and then notable phrases. So, starting off, I want to note quickly that even within any culture, people are diverse. And everything I say today, it might not apply to every single British person. It might not even apply to me. And in this case, I've used a picture from a film that I really like called The World's End. And they're all drinking beers, except for this man over here who is just drinking water. So, drinking culture in the UK, it's massive. Everyone talks about it. But
I thought that
there are
was an
people like us.
Irish thing.
Well, I mean, drinking is everywhere. The Irish would claim that they are the heaviest drinkers. The English would claim that they are the heaviest drinkers, and the Scottish would claim that they are the heaviest drinkers. But clearly, we all know that it is just the depressed people that are the heaviest drinkers. So,
That's fair.
Devin, one of your first questions was, what is the UK? Is Scotland part of the UK? Who is
Hmm.
British? And having spent, if,
Well,
some
because
time
a
in the
lot of
US,
times you hear British, but then some people are like, "Well, no, I'm Scottish," and then
yes,
so it's different, right? It's got to be kind of different at least.
Well, here's the best way I could describe it, and this is just a fact, and then we'll break it down because again, people are diverse. If you are English, you are British. If you are Scottish, you are British. If you're from Wales, you are British. But if you are British, that does not necessarily mean you are English. So it's basically like if you can imagine a big circle where, like, in the circle with smaller circles, England a smaller circle, Scotland a smaller circle, Wales, Northern Ireland, they're all small circles, but it's not inherently saying that if you're British, you are English. You might be from Wales. Now, what you are hearing is there are some people out there, that maybe a majority of people, that would say, I'm Scottish, I'm not British. That's not what they subscribe to. That is their personal belief that they believe Scotland should be independent. We're not going to get into that because that's a whole debate. Personally, me being from Scotland, but having grown up in England, I do think it just makes sense to say I'm British because it's everything. If I was only from Scotland, I think it would be a different story. Typically, most English people are saying that they are British. I really can't think of a time when an English person has said I'm not British though. But
I have another question. So I see on your map
yeah,
there, Northern Ireland. What's the story there?
well,
Is that part of the UK? Are they British?
Northern Ireland. I mean, technically, it's, it, the truth of the matter and is Scotland, England, Wales, Northern Ireland are technically all part of the UK. Um, whether or not people personally subscribe to that, that is a different thing. But yeah, we're not going to address the grey section. Yeah, I mean, that's a topic that we should not be talking about in
I just say I feel
this.
like our friend James would have some thoughts about all this.
So hopefully that clears up that if you're curious, I'm in Edinburgh. So I'm here. Glasgow is where I would spend a lot of my summers. And then here is about York-ish. I hope I'm right. So yeah, I was in these multiple areas. A lot of people assume I'm from London. I remember when I met Novacell for the first time in person. He asked if I flew from London. I was like, I live in the US right now, mate. um, but the reason why I think the UK is quite cool as a country is it has a rich history, and a lot of European countries do. But the UK was invaded quite a lot. So we start, and it does go beyond this. There were the Celtics, but the Romans are like a big one, and you can actually still see Roman architecture still around. There's a very famous wall known as Hadrian's Wall, and you can see that, and you can see Vikings and Tudors and Victorians and so many other eras. So this is a lot of notable landmarks throughout the UK. This is Edinburgh Castle. So if you do come to visit me, we would go to Edinburgh Castle. This is York. Um, it's just this beautiful place in York. And then we have this is a place called Harewood House, which I used to go to quite a lot when I was young. And just to the left of this house, there's a wonderful play park for children. This is Byland Abbey, which has a very unique story. You would think that some of this decay and how run down it looks would come from recent history, but actually it's probably looked like that for close to 500 years because King Henry VIII, famous king, had six wives, and at one point he wanted to divorce one of his wives, but it was against the Catholic Church to do that. So he created the Protestant church so that he could divorce a wife. So he destroyed a lot of Catholic churches. The reason I put Byland Abbey in, I don't know if I've ever spoken to you about this, Devon, but I used to go to a school in York. It was called Lyndhurst. It has now changed to Pocklington Prep, and we had Harry Potter style houses, and they were all named
Yo,
after. Yeah, I don't know if we've ever spoken about this, but it was.
no, I would have
I
remembered
can't
this
remember.
time.
But mine, they were all named after famous abbeys. Actually, maybe one of them wasn't, but mine was Byland. So this is Byland
Were
Abbey, and
you
I have
part of
been
one of the
here.
good houses, or were you part of one of the bad houses?
Well, not bad in the sense that we were evil, bad in the sense that we never won anything. Like,
Oh,
we
so
were
Hufflepuff.
factually, yeah, we were factually the worst. I mean, I don't have any sort of like. Basically, we had all the people that's like, yeah, you're not good at sport, you're not particularly bright, and I don't think they were trying to like create people like that, but we never won anything in my 4
That's
years.
wild.
We should talk about that sometime because
Yes, that could be a
I
whole video in itself. Growing up a
I ended
wizard with Scott McClanahan.
I ended up being the house captain, by the way, and we still didn't win. So this is a wall in York. I looked up the official name. It is called the York Wall. Um, and then this, I can't remember the name of it, but it's where I want to live. In Edinburgh, I live in a really like nice place, but I saw this and I was like, oh, this looks like somewhere really great in Final Fantasy VII that I love. So yeah, this just has a rich history. All of these places have like a great atmosphere to them. I know you're not much of a history person, but I do think you'd just be like, yeah, I like the feeling that I can just walk by a castle every single day.
That is
Um,
sick.
so I want to talk about some notable dates. These are just, for most of these, you do not get days off, but I did just want to bring them up. So in Scotland, we have Burns Night. Um, then on the 5th of November, I meant to put this in order, but now I'm seeing I did not do that, so I feel like I failed. This is Guy Fawkes Night, which is the highest chance of you knowing what this is, except for the next one, but we'll get into that. For those that are familiar with this, this is an iconic day. It has a chant: remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, the treason, the plot." And basically, it was this Guy Fawkes guy. He did not like Parliament and government at the time, so he tried to give it up. And the
That's
reason,
awesome.
well, I thought honestly for 25 years of my life, I was like, yeah, it's a bit weird that like we basically celebrate a terrorist, but what you're meant to be celebrating is the fact that we stopped the terrorists. And I think, nah, he had a point.
Oh,
He had a point.
so
Um,
I do want to bring up here because I will never miss a chance to talk about Fallout lore. There is actually a character in Fallout named Fox after Guy Fawkes specifically.
yeah, he is one of my favorite parts of like just British history, just as a concept that there was this guy that did try to do this. Um, Then we have Mother's Day. Now, you might be thinking, Scott, why'd you put that on there? We celebrate Mother's Day all over the world. But the interesting thing here is, for whatever reason, in the UK, we celebrate Mother's Day in March. I believe in the US, you celebrate it in May. That would cause a lot of headaches in my family where my mum basically expected us to do it on both days. I'm like, no, you can't have that. Then we have the 23rd of April. This is an English holiday. Again, none of these days give you days off except for this last one and then St. Andrew's Day. Um, this guy, I believe the legend is that St. George killed a dragon.
That's a pretty good reason to celebrate.
I don't know what people do for that, but I know that happens. It was never celebrated in my family because, again, my mum and dad were this like, weird disconnect where they wouldn't really do the Scottish ones because we lived in England, and then we wouldn't really do the English ones because we were
so so
Scottish
so hold
family.
on. You tell me you won't celebrate the dragon dying, But your mom's allowed to have two Mother's Day.
Well, we did do Guy Fawkes Night and we did do Mother's Day. Um, I wonder what I have to do for Mother's Day now. Now that my mum and Father's Day, I think, is the same day, so they didn't care about that. But Mother's Day, they were like, we need to have 2 days. But yeah, now I need to know, like, do I have to do it twice now because
Oh yeah.
I'm back in the
Oh yeah, you got to do it
UK?
twice again now.
So then we have St. Andrew's Day. That's a Scottish one as well. This one does give you a day off, but I haven't had the benefit of that day off yet, only because my work is a UK wide job. So even though I live in Scotland, they did not give me that day. But an interesting day is the 31st of December, Hogmanay, which is Scotland only, and you might be thinking, Scott, the 31st of November, that's New Year's Eve. So I have a story about this that I want to share. So in 1640, the Scottish Parliament were like, right, we are done with Yuletide celebrations. It is going to be illegal to celebrate that. And the reason for that is it was basically them shifting from the 1560s, there was a shift from Catholicism to the Protestants. So we're bringing it back to Henry VIII. It was probably something to do with that. And to counteract this more conservative December, Scots decided to turn the 31st of December into a massive end of year celebration known as Hogmanay. And that's a massive thing. So it should be noted that whilst the ban is true and people were at one point arrested for celebrating Christmas, I asked my gran about this a few weeks ago, and she said that to her knowledge, she was always celebrating Christmas. So I think it was more of a crime closer to the time it was first enacted, and by the 40s at the very least, it wasn't really a problem. But officially, the Christmas ban was lifted in 1958, but by that point, Hogmanay had already been established as a cultural tradition, and they didn't get rid of that. So if you ever come to Scotland, you might hear New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, you'll still hear that, but Hogmanay is the big thing for that. In fact, there's a British TV series called Still Game, set in Scotland, and they would not do Christmas specials, they would do Hogmanay specials because they really wanted to have that culture. Now we have food, so this is a bit of a speed round. I'm going to show you some British foods, and you're going to tell me what you think, Devon. So, starting off, do you know what this is?
Baked potato with beans.
No, this is haggis, which
That's
everyone
my
always
wife.
Haggis is the thing that every American used to ask me about. Um, Funnily enough, I don't know how they did this because I think it's sheep's liver. It's either sheep's liver or sheep's lung. I want to say it's liver, but for some reason I'm thinking it's lung. Um, at Christmas this year, I had a veggie version of haggis, and I don't know how they do that because the big part of it is the liver. So
What's the skin around it?
I do not know.
Probably for the
um,
best.
the veggie haggis was good. I do not really like normal haggis, but I'm willing to try it again. This is the classic British dish.
That's
It's
breakfast, right?
beans and
That's the
toast.
classic
Yeah,
breakfast.
British breakfast. I would like most of these things. I have never really tried beans, but something about it just does not look appetizing to
Whoa,
me.
whoa, whoa, hold on. You mean you've never had beans? What do you mean by that? Elaborate.
I I've never had beans.
Like any beans? You never had any beans before?
I don't think so, no. I
No, no,
really
no,
don't.
no, no. Hold on. We can't just move on from that real quick. You've never had. Surely you've had the American classic baked beans at the very least.
Well, these are baked beans.
Okay, so you've had to have at least baked beans, right?
Never. I've never had them.
You've never had baked beans, black beans,
Never.
gonzo beans, white beans,
I don't think so.
green beans. You surely you've
Uh,
had green beans.
Holly, if you're watching this, please can you tell me if I've had beans? Because you are the most likely person to know if I have. I feel like if I was going to have beans, it would have been with you. For everyone else, you would never know. But I really don't think I've had beans.
Green beans. You gotta say green beans.
I don't think so.
All right, I'm gonna hit you with one, and if you say no to this, I can't tell you how high the disappointment level will be. Jelly beans, surely,
I don't
surely.
think that. I tell you why I
This
haven't,
man's
because it
never
was
had jelly beans.
it was seeing Harry Potter so much as a child and like having them have the Bertie Bott's every flavour beans and then you got bogey flavour and I was like, you can get that, and then I just didn't want to have any
I
risk of that.
I can't believe. So one, jelly beans does not count as beans. First of all, second of all, the fact that you haven't even had those is disappointing beyond belief, and I need to stop yelling because I don't want my pipe mic to peak. But I'll have you know, my disappointment is quite immeasurable at the moment. You're
Is,
British. This is the one thing you're supposed to have.
is this the Scottish Day 97 beans?
I mean, honestly, we could just Devis Scottish tries beans, and we just have like a whole platter of like different bean types that we just scoop up with a spoon and eat. Like,
We should do that actually, because
we'll put
have
that in
you
the
had like,
logs.
yeah,
I've had baked beans and I've had jelly beans. Basically, every other type of bean, not really. I think maybe I've had black beans, but I couldn't tell you what they taste like. We could do a whole tasting of beans.
okay, yeah, let's do a beans challenge at
We'll
some
put that
point
on.
because
We'll put that on the docket. Actually, I can't
so
believe
next
this.
next we have Jaffa cakes.
I'm
Now, have
sorry,
you
I
heard
can't
of
move
the?
on yet. I need to bring up that this is like when I told you was talking to you about Austin Powers, and then you revealed after like years of talking about it that you had never actually seen them, and I just that's this is that kind of level of betrayal in my mind. Okay, I can move on now. I just needed to get that point out.
So these are Jaffa cakes. Have you heard of Jaffa cakes?
No, I'm looking at them and I'm going to say that they are cheese and chocolate flavored.
No, actually, they are chocolate and orange flavor. You can even
Oh,
see
interesting.
like in the 1G
Yeah, I can
thing. If
see
you were
that
to
there.
zoom in here, you'd see like the texture of an orange. Um, there's a debate with people. So I don't have this in the PowerPoint at all, so this is good that we're talking about it. But typically, for people that like to drink tea, they like to have tea and a biscuit, and this would be a prime time biscuit for a lot of people. But there is a debate on whether or not it is a biscuit or if it's a cake, um, and that's the whole thing. I would. It feels like something you'd give as a biscuit item, but I do believe it has a texture of like a tiny cake. So I'm more willing to go for the cake, hence the name Jaffa Cake. I'll try to get you some Jaffa cakes.
I actually would.
Holly.
I gotta say, staring at them, I'm like, I am quite interested actually.
Okay. Let me write that down as the
Yeah,
I
you
need to
could
do
bring them
last.
in March or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh wait, is that allowed through customs? Are you allowed to bring that through?
You get deported because I'm bringing Jaffa
They
Cake.
stop you at TSA. You're wearing a big trench coat that's just like lined with. They're like, "Sir, you're not allowed to bring that on the plane."
No, you can bring them. There's some things you can't bring, but Jaffa cake shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Um, then there's chocolate digestives. This is specifically the dark chocolate one, but this is the best picture I could find that sort of illustrated what it was and the thing. I'm a big fan of chocolate digestives. I'm a big fan of normal digestives.
Does
It's
this help
basically
your
just
tummy feel better at all?
I honestly don't know why they're called digestives.
I'm
I
gonna say
just
you
like
know
them.
why I was asking because the name wouldn't, in my mind, it somewhat implies that, but being covered in chocolate in my mind does not strike. Your tummy's gonna feel better afterwards.
Then we have. I actually think you'll like these. These are pom bears, so they're crisps. and each of them are shaped like tiny bears.
Are they
And
flat
they
or
were,
puffed?
uh, I would say they're somewhat flat. I'll send you a picture after, and you can take a look. Um,
Okay.
they're quite thin, I would say,
I do
but they're
like them.
cute.
I like the look of them. I'd eat them. I like
Okay,
potato
I'll
straws and potato chips. I feel it. You know what? If you do end up bringing all these snacks, it could be another Deviscatus video as
I
well.
was actually just about to say that. I was just about to say, why don't we do like a British taste test of like you trying all the things that I like? Um, then we have steak pie, which I really like steak pie. Um, my uncle took me to this pub and had this amazing steak pie, and it's just so good. The juices are great. Um, and then finally, we have what is known as an Empire biscuit, which is a Scottish delicacy. And a lot of so I work for even though I work in Scotland, there's a lot of English people that work there as well, and a lot of them had not had an Empire biscuit, so I was able to bring them in. Basically, there's jam in the middle. There's a little bit of like a I don't know what you'd call that, but more jam on top, a bit of frosting, and you just bite into it, and it's just really nice. I don't think I'd be able to get these to you, but um, yeah, I really like
You
these.
just gotta smuggle them
Alternatively,
in the trench coat. It'll work fine. Wear a fake
um,
mustache. They'll never catch you.
so then we have British icons. So these are people that I think, yeah, I wanted to give some that you might know, but then others that, hey, you really have to be British to know these people. So obviously we have Doctor Who. This is surprisingly the it's a very low quality image. I know I've seen a higher quality image of this, but I could not for the life of me find it. So this is the best I could do that had all the doctors together. Obviously, everyone like that. Even if you don't watch it in Britain, you know of Doctor Who at this point. It was
Hmm.
massive. Um, so then we have Mr. Bean, of course. This is one of my favourite Mr. Bean moments. Is
Otherwise known
when
as
he
the
is
future Scott.
well, yes, this is when he goes to America and he sees an American with a gun, so he's like, "Oh, I'm going to pretend like I have a gun." It is honestly one of the funniest things I have ever seen. Then we have Paddington, of course, my favorite version of Paddington.
Future
Then
Devin.
you
You gotta put in the picture of Paddington with the really big head. Because Scott
yes,
has
Devon
shown me
thought.
that picture so many times, and every time I see it, I just see Paddington with a really big head underneath, and I made it because I had to show Scott what I was seeing, and it was
Devon thinks that
beautiful.
Paddington has a tumor under his hat.
He's just like a Jimmy Neutron head underneath there. He's just brain blasting all the time.
So one that's a bit more obscure because it, to my knowledge, has not made it anywhere else in the world is Sooty. Even honestly, there were some people in Scotland that I brought this up to, and they had never watched it. I don't know if that's everyone or if it's just they didn't watch that, but Sooty is was a bit like the Muppet Show. It was puppets. Sooty would not talk. Sweep, that's his name, he would make like squeaking noises, which Devon initially did not like Sweep, but then felt comfort when he heard the squeaking noises. And then
That's
Sue,
true. I
she
did feel better once I actually heard the squeaks. I was like, all right.
Sue was the girl of the group, and she did speak full sentences, but it was it's a very childish thing, but I'm a big softy for any like soft toy like things. You would think from this image that Sweep was the main character because he's in the middle, but no, it's Sooty. Um, then we have Horrid Henry, which is a British icon made by an American. So
Is it
this
funny that
person
this
here
is actually one of the few I have recognized British media wise?
was
Don't
it
know
because
why I
what?
know it, but I do know it. I've seen that character before.
Yeah, because I had never brought this up. He's just an iconic British character, and the writer moved to the UK. I was surprised when I found out they were from the US because I do just associate this with just pure Britishness, but maybe it's just that outsider perspective. Um, it spawned films, TV program, and he's basically Dennis the Menace. And you might be thinking, like, oh, Dennis the Menace. I know Dennis the Menace. Well, do you know Dennis the Menace? Because this is our Dennis the Menace. It is no relation to the US Dennis the Menace, who is that blonde
What is that?
boy.
What is that thing behind him with the wrinkly arms and wrinkly
So
legs?
that's Dennis the Menace's dog, Nasha.
That's
Um,
not a dog. That's dogs don't have the arms and legs of an elderly man attached to them.
Honestly, that was the first time I had seen his like arms and legs look like
Ugh,
that. I was like,
I
I don't
don't care
like
for it. I
that
don't
actually.
like it.
But Dennis the Menace, he is a like he's basically a comic character. He appeared in a lot of newspapers. I don't know if this is still true, but in getting this image, I saw a Google result that said um Beano, which is the company that draws Dennis the Menace, decides to drop the Menace because of changing times or something. They were basically like, yeah, woke got to Dennis the Menace. And
He's
so,
starting to get confused with the terrorists. They had to take him off. They had to get rid of the menace part.
um, so then I thought, even though Beano, I did not know this, is a Scottish company, but this is a Britain-wide thing. Here is a Scottish character that I was not aware. Where did we get to, Devon?
I don't know, man. Dennis the
Okay,
Menace, he
okay,
was taking the menace out of the dentist because he's a terrorist now, and
okay, yeah, yeah. So you can cut back, and if I've already said this, then we'll start it from here-ish. So yes, Dennis the Menace was like, he's known throughout Britain. I did not know that he was actually made by a Scottish creator, but what is a purely Scottish creation is this character here. I did not know about this until 2019, and they put up a lot of these statues of this character to celebrate some anniversary. This, and I'll have to put on a Scottish accent for this. He is Willie, which is our Willie. Willie as in Will, not the other Willie. Um, I don't know what sort of chicanery he gets up to, but he's a Scottish comic book character. I have a
he
few of them,
he looks
but I
like they took a 80-year-old man's face and put it on a child's body.
yeah, and he's sitting on a bucket for some reason. I don't know why.
That's part of his
Um,
job.
but then we have Postman Pat, who iconic children's character. He has a great theme song, um, and then he has a black and white cat named Jess. So basically, what this program was is that Postman Pat would just basically deliver people's post, and that was it. And then I would be remiss without bringing up Ant and Deck. And these, I was trying to think of a US equivalent. They are just two British hosts that, if you want like a dynamic duo to host, like Britain's Got Talent, or I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here, or just like any sort of random thing, um, it'll be them. So I wanted to end with those two in our iconic British people because basically, this is Devis Scottish. You know, they're a duo. They're not. We're not. I mean, I'm British. Devon's not. But I just thought, yeah, Devis Scottish. Name a more iconic duo than that. So I wanted to mention some cultural quirks. We are one of the only countries in the world that drive on the left-hand side of the road. Um,
Why?
there are a few. I think Australia does it. I think some of Africa does it. Um, I don't really know why. I think, but at this point, it would be too difficult to change. Um, and
I
also,
like
it's
that
like,
the answer is I don't know, but we're not going to change it.
we're not because it doesn't impact things. It's not like, oh,
And I do
actually,
understand it would cause way more problems if you did change it at this point.
yeah. Um, so an important thing to know is we love banter, and if someone likes you, like they're going to talk about how much they hate you. Um, so if you talk to a British person and you feel like they're insulting you or they say something, don't worry about it. They probably like you. Um, School
So are
uniforms
you
are
basically
normal.
just telling me British people are mean?
We can be. I mean, we can say some like really like rotten things, and then like 5 minutes later, you're like, "Do you want to go out for a drink?" Like, yeah, right. And I love it. I love that. It's what I missed about being home. Quite honestly, is knowing that I can like take the piss out of someone and then just go about my business. Um, School uniforms when they're normal in the UK. I don't think any school in Britain has it that you can just wear your weekend clothes. Um, I honestly quite liked the school uniform. I felt quite smart.
You would be a guy to be like, yeah, I want a school uniform.
I mean, we would wear blazers, we'd wear a tie, um,
The girls in my
and
class are too distracting. They're showing their shoulders.
Tipping is extra. Tipping really is for like, well, that was a really good meal. I really liked that. I'm going to tip extra. Um, it's if you're doing it, it's 10%. And value added tax, I think VAT stands for, that's already added. So in the US, you might go up to the till and say, "Hey, I want to buy this," and you may not have considered that you have $3 of tax to add in. And it's like, oh, I've got to do that. But in Britain, everything has already factored that in. So if it says it's 60 quid, it's 60 quid. There's nothing else to it. Surprisingly, it will still tell you what the VAT was. I don't know if that's for tourists that might not know, but anyway. Um, then we have the way we hold knives and forks is apparently different. And the reason I wanted to include this is I did not know this until I think 6 months before I left the US, where I had not said a word to someone. I was at a lunch at work. I had my knife and a fork, and they said, "You're British, aren't you?" I'm like, "Oh, how did you know?" Because I hadn't spoken to them. And they said, "You're holding your knife and fork in the British style." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So if we look at this picture, how we would eat food is we would stick our fork into it, cut, and then pick it up. But according to the American style, you will do that, put the knife down, and then put it in your mouth. I don't know how accurate that is because I have never personally witnessed that, but I'm not
Yeah,
looking
that
at people
that
do.
I don't know about all that one. That one might be
Really?
a. I mean, I hold my knife. Why would I put it down? Essentially, unless I'm cutting like all the food in advance and then putting it down. You know.
Yeah, maybe it's like a formal American thing, but I might have to send you a few things like to see what you
Maybe I
think.
am
But
British. Have we
do,
thought
do, do,
about
do.
that?
I mean, Devon, you have been saying mate recently.
I have. You're rubbing off on me. I'm gonna say by the end of Devis Scottis, I'm gonna be fully British. I'll be like, "Hello, governor. It's a beautiful day, ain't it?" And something like that.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be weird if we like changed voices one day? I mean, that would be weird.
It'd be
But then we
pretty
have radi
crazy, I tell you what.
um, radiators. in all of my time in the UK, in the US, I never saw a radiator once, but these are everywhere. If I were to turn around right now, I could point to a radiator. This is how we heat up homes
Well,
because
because it's
we're not really,
famously super cold there, right?
I mean, not as cold as the US. When
What?
it gets cold in the US, but it is more consistently cold in the UK.
Okay, that
But
makes sense.
it doesn't get as warm, except in recent years you might have heard like, oh, well, it's in the UK it's this temperature, and you're like, that's nothing, but it's because we don't have air conditioning. Um, so then we have British phrases and words
Hold on,
just
I'm
to
sorry.
end
I'm
off.
still. I think my brain took a second to process that. You guys don't have air conditioning there.
Oh yeah, we don't have that. Also, I apparently didn't make this. I'm glad we did come back. Um, Sockets, they're different in the UK. We have a three-pronged thing, and it's actually safer to do so, um, because the
He's a,
top.
he's insulting my American stuff, saying, "Well, we British people actually have a more sophisticated manner of plugging things in."
Well, I tell you one thing I really like. So we're very power conscious in the UK. So I like to like when I'm done with things, I like to unplug things. But here, you don't have to unplug anything. You can just switch off at the wall. So when I'm done with Divis Scottish recording, I can unplug my. Well, I don't even have to unplug my computer. All I have to do is turn it off at the wall, and then it's done. And then it powers everything off. So I do that for my TV at the end of the night. I do it for a lot of things. It's just really helpful to do that. Do you have any other questions about cultural quirks, Devon?
I mean, not really a question. I guess more of a comment. While we don't
Yeah.
have something as nice as having that little flipper switcher there on your actual like plug outlet, there are sometimes in houses. I know because my house is like this. We can just flip the switch on the wall and it will just turn off that outlet.
Yeah, I've seen that as well. What I don't like about that is it's by the lights as well. So you like
Hmm. Oh yeah,
although
no,
when
there
the
have been
lights
many times where you're trying to turn on the lights and you fucking turn off all your outlets and you're like, well, fuck me.
yeah, like that has actually deleted my progress and save once. I was like, well, that's what I get for turning a
Yeah,
light on.
yeah, it's not
So
great.
then yeah, here's some British phrases and words. Thinking about it, I maybe could have made this into a game. Was like, what do you think this word means, Devon? But I'll just go through it. Chock a block. I say this one quite a lot. It basically means it's crowded. It's um, Devon. When we went to the furry convention and the furries showed up, that was chock a block. They were everywhere. Then we have knackered. That means exhausted. Dodgy, I love using dodgy. It just means low quality. It's like, oh, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Like, um, if I don't know what would really say for that, but like,
I like pish there, drunk but you're Scottish.
yes, yeah. So we'll go to that. So pissed means drunk. Plastered is like extremely drunk. Pished, uh, well, he's fucking pished. That is pure Scottish. Um,
Wait a
so
minute. I just noticed that it is pissed, but it just is the accent because it has the H.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pished. Then there's quid, that's slang for money. Chuffed, pleased. Cheeky is it playful, so you hear a lot like, "Ooh, I have a cheeky little coffee," or a cheeky. There's an advert for Domino's here. It's like cheeky little pizzas, and I hate it. I'm like, oh god. But yeah, cheeky is used. I use cheeky. It's like, ooh, he's been a bit cheeky. Nick, that means to steal. Minging. Now that's I would say that's more of a Yorkshire phrase, so I use that a lot. Being a York guy, but minging. That's just that's minging. Normally you drop the G at the end. Um, Nay danger is Scottish, so that's no problem. Typically,
that
you
is
would say
that is probably
you
the
would
best
say
phrase on there by far. Being
yeah.
like, "Yo, did you just slay that dragon for us? Nay danger."
Yeah. Well, what I like about it is you would say, "Oh, thank you so much for helping me," and they'd say, "No danger, big man." They'd call you big man. Oh, if a Scottish person says big man, they don't think anything of it. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a big man. Uh, Baltic. You kind of have to say that as a Scottish person. Like if I said Baltic, it wouldn't really work. But Baltic, that means it's cold. Now this next part, you could say it's pure dead anything, really, but it's pure dead Baltic. It's absolutely Scottish. It's very cold. And Gunny no do that. That means please stop. Now, there's a phrase that is used, so I will give you a presentation of this. So you'd say, Gunny no do that. And then they'd say, how? Just Gunny no. And you might be thinking, why is it how? Because that really means why. But they say how for some reason. There's a lot more Scottish and English phrases that I could do, but I wanted just to give you a taste of why Britain is great. And it's my home. I like it for a lot of reasons. And there's a reason that Xenoblade Chronicles uses a lot of British actors and has that world be very British. So
See,
Devon,
I
did you
understand
know?
this. I understand this from from your point of view because I'm your friend. The idea of just putting an anime girl in front of a British flag and saying Britain is great is such a funny thing.
Yeah, I wanted to put in Xenoblade at some point. I was like, oh, I guess we'll do it here. But yeah, that's the end of our journey. Devin, what do you think? What do you think of the UK? Um, what are you thinking?
Well, mate, I think it's a proper good place full of good blokes, and it's a great place to get me some beans and toast, if you know what I'm saying.
Do you want this baby? Do you want this baby? What is just as a question? What has been the most surprising thing for you on the presentation? What
How
have you learned?
surprising. I mean,
Yeah,
surprising's a hard one because it's well, I don't know. I guess
what's
as
the thing that you learned then?
I'm
What's
gonna
like the
say,
most in
the things that have
oh,
stuck out to me that I keep thinking about is one St. George's Day because I want to know more about this slaying the dragon day because that sounds fucking awesome. And I'm still not over the fact that you weren't allowed to celebrate that, but two Mother's Days, that made the cut. It just feels like such a weird cut there. I honestly I like more of the Scottish stuff. I'm realizing than anything else because I also really like the fact that yeah they say nay danger instead of instead of no problem. I'm like
Knee danger.
and the fact like there's just so much good stuff. Where was Guy Fawkes from? Was he Scottish by chance or was he?
No, he was not. He was not Scottish. I feel like I need now that I know you're like interested in Scottish
The
things.
Scottish stuff
I
sounds like it's way more badass. It seems like the English are a bunch of yes, we're going to say no more churches because I want to divorce my bitch wife. Meanwhile, the Scottish people are like, ah, yes, we be slaying dragons and fucking nay danger about any of that and
the,
stuff like that.
the dragon thing was England.
No,
St.
I thought
George is
you
that?
said that that was the Scottish one. Is it not?
No, 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 no. Let's go back. Let's go back. Let's bring it back.
Oh, that's so
Uh,
disappointing.
no, St.
I see.
George's
What
Day.
confused me is I see the Scotland only on that page, and my brain probably looked at that and goes, "Oh yeah, it was the Scottish slaying the dragons for sure."
And in fairness, I should have put that for St. Andrew's Day, but I forgot.
So wait a
But
second. So
no,
St. Andrew's Day is Scotland. So St. George was one of the few that wasn't. Oh, that's tragic. That's
I mean,
tragic.
there might be others. I think there was one that I skipped because I was like, yeah, it's not that interesting. So I'll just put.
I actually
I
didn't know very
really
little
like the
about Guy Fawkes. Actually, though, I did only know his name and that he was British, I believe. I mean, I've seen his picture, so I could infer the Britishness.
yeah. There was so there's like a chain of things in the UK known as it's called the dungeons, but typically it's like the York dungeon, the Edinburgh dungeon. It's wherever you are, and it will be like um, it's basically like a horror themed history thing where you will go through and like there'll be scares and the York dungeon. So this must have been he must have been York related, I suppose. Um, but I did it with my gran when I was 8. I was begging her to go. She's not like a horror person, neither am I, but I was just like, I really want to know like what the York dungeons are like. I had a really great day. And how the experience ended was you were like being hung for helping Guy Fawkes. And like you were all sitting on this bench and like the
That
way
sounds
the
like
bench was.
propaganda. Being like, here's what happens to people that dissent against the government. Just so you're aware.
Offline, Devon, I need to show you the recent propaganda thing that came up. I don't have the means of showing it right now, but I think you'll be like, maybe Britain's not a bad place because it involves a goth girl, and
Oh,
I think you'd really
oh.
like
This is good news.
that. Mark, this is good news. We finally get to be
So to finish up
right.
my thoughts here, I did want to say that I also thought it was really funny learning that Britain has been just constantly invaded.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because a
I
lot of
didn't
people
know
think
that.
I
I
live.
think that's awesome.
My headcanon is after years of being invaded. I mean, hundreds of years of being invaded. They finally like, right, we're invading other countries.
They're
We're
like, hey,
taking over.
everyone stopped invading us. Let's go invade that.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever watch the series The Vikings, it's a good series. That's all about like, yeah, we're going to invade Britain and like take it over. York is like a massive Viking like, center, basically. Like, I believe York is a Viking word. I could be wrong, um, but yeah, it, I think there's a lot of culture. There's a lot of history, and you know what? Here's how we're ending this video, Devon. You can decide where to cut off at any point. But when I lived in Philadelphia